Good morning, everyone. We'll just wait for a couple attendees to join, and then we'll get started. Okay, it's looking great. Welcome, everyone, to our tip jar on how to remediate issues found in ObservePoint. Our host today will be Clint Eager, and he will take over from here. Feel free to put any questions you have in our chat.
Hello, good morning, everyone. If it's morning for you, here we're in the mountain region of the United States, so welcome. All right, just a little bit about me. I'm on the product team. I've done a lot of things at ObservePoint. I've been here actually almost 14 years. I was here at the very early stages when we were a little tiny startup company, and there were 6 of us trying to figure out what to build and how to build it, and now we're fully grown company with lots of employees all over the world and lots of customers all over the world, and it's really exciting to still be here and still helping to deliver product. And one of the things that we get asked a lot is, hey, you found this broken tag, or hey, you found this cookie, or there's this digital residue on our website, meaning there's this old technology. How do we find it? How do we get rid of it, right? What do we do next, right? One of the things that we're really good at ObservePoint is finding lots of problems, and then the next step, right, is usually where the real work begins, and that's fixing those problems, right, or knowing how to fix them. And so just a couple of tips on that is what we're going to talk about today. Just first, though, just do a quick recap of our last session, which was how the various AI tools can help you in ObservePoint. There's a couple of things that you can think about. One that I use quite a bit is either ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, which is also ChatGPT under the hood, to write custom JavaScript snippets when there's some custom code that I need to collect, or some custom function that I need to run when one of our audits or journeys is crawling a page. So I use that quite often. I also used it in preparation for today's webinar just a little bit, and I'll actually show you a couple of examples of that as well. And the one thing that we're doing to help you is in our help docs. We have trained the AI model on all of our help docs so that you can ask it natural language type questions, and it's getting better and better over the time. It's still being refined, but there's a lot of information as well. So there are some more notes on that, and you can look at the resources on observepoint.com to see that previous episode as well, if that's interesting to you. Okay, so for agenda today, we're going to talk just about some general concepts as it comes to remediation, and then we're actually going to go through a bunch of examples of what to watch out for, and then some thought process on how to remediate those things. And then, of course, at the end, some time for Q&A as well. And also, if you have questions that are in context, happy to answer those. If it's just something that's burning, that you have to have answered right away, or you can't pay attention to the rest, I'm gonna go ahead and ask that as well, and then Ireland can just interject that as well. Okay, so I actually talked with Dylan. A lot of you may know Dylan. He's our head of customer success, and I asked him. I wrote up a whole big old list of notes for today's webinar, and I said, "What am I missing?" And he said, "I think the number one thing that you're missing is helping users understand the complexities of figuring out who can help fix problems." Right. So let's say we find a broken page. We all know the solution for that, right? Well, there's 2 solutions possibly. One is fix the broken page if it's really broken, or if there are links pointing to that broken page, update those links, right? So that's the thing to remediate, and I think that's pretty self-explanatory. The challenge can be, though, is who can update that broken link. For example, just yesterday, we have a third party that helps us manage our marketing website. And we found on our Edge website that there's some problems for Windows users. It doesn't have any problems on Mac, but there's a problem with Windows users, and it's actually a problem with the hosting provider. And so I'm like, who can help with that? And so I messaged Ireland, and then she messaged. I'm our third-party vendor that is helping manage the website, and they're working on remediation for that, right? And so here at a small company like ObservePoint, it's a pretty easy, to know who should go and get that fixed, or who at least can get somebody to get that fixed. A larger organization, that might be a lot harder. A short time ago, I was talking to one of our larger multinational companies, and they're on the digital analytics group, and they said to me and my my partner in crime here in the product team, Mike Meziars, not sure what word I was trying to say there, that they didn't believe that anybody ever QA'd their website before it went to production. And the thing that popped into my head was, yes, they do. It's just I firmly believe that they were so far removed from that process upstream that all the QA happened way upstream, and they're so far downstream from that happening that they believed that nobody QA'd their site. And I happen to know that they do. I'm a QA their site. But my point is with that is that it can be very, very challenging within a large company, especially if you have lots of brands, lots of different domains, even lots of different subsections on the site. It can be difficult to find who can help remediate. So usually think of the interested parties. There's typically a product manager, and that's probably where I would try and start. Somebody whose primary job is to make sure that the site, the thing, the tags, the cookies, that's working correctly. Now, that's easy to say. That could be, once again, really hard to find out in your organization. So just be thinking of that that's the most important thing. So I would start with product management. Then you could probably talk to a development manager or a QA manager. Some of the things that are, that are going to be tag related that I'll talk about today, those you may know who that is, right? Because those are typically very close to our customer, right? The person that manages the tags on the site manages the tag manager, right? And so we'll talk about that a little bit more about that as I go through each of these examples here in a few minutes. So a couple of other things that we would recommend just to help find problems. So before we even get into the remediation, helping find problems. As most of you know, we have alerts. Now, one of the things that we added to alerts is this section right here in the notification section. What we intended for this custom message is, if this alert is triggered, i.e., it found a broken tag, or it found an unapproved cookie, or it found this console log message that was an error, whatever you have the alert set up for, we intended this box here to essentially be the remediation box. This is what we do if this alert is triggered. So I get this alert and it goes to our Slack channel. What do I do about it? I found an unapproved cookie. What do we do about it? And so just be keeping in mind that as I talk through each of these examples that we'll go over today, there's a lot of other things that could need remediation on the site. But just be thinking as you set up alerts around each of those things, and I'll show you a one specific example of this here in just a minute. But just be thinking about the remediation that you could put in here, or the notes to it. This is who you should talk to. Who's in charge of cookies in our organization? Who's in charge of getting cookies approved? All of those things, right? Could be very relevant. And so I'll talk about that more here in a few minutes as well. All right, so jumping right into it. These are the what to watch out for we're going to talk about today, if we have time to get through them all. If we don't have time to get through them all, we will have a series of blog posts and resources available on our website that you'll be able to consume as well. Or if you have specific questions about some of these things, or having a hard time figuring this out, you talk to your CSM, and any member of the product team is happy to jump on and help troubleshoot that as well. Our DevOps manager as well is also extremely good. Sometimes when things are broken, they're broken at the CDN level or the security level or things like that. He's super happy to jump on calls as well to help troubleshoot things if it comes to that as well. So we're also here as a resource with our wealth of knowledge and experience in helping fix the web. All right, so let's go over a broken tag example. So we have a crawl that's happening on the ObservePoint site. I'm actually going to go to my scan from last week, and I'm going to filter by broken requests here. So let's say we're using Stripe on the site, to allow people to sign up or to allow people to pay for a webinar, or whatever we're using Stripe for, right? And it's broken. So what does that mean? Of course, that means that people aren't able to pay, right? So that's a problem. So the first thing that I want to check for is this problem systematic, meaning is every place that this technology is on the website, is it broken across the board? So if we look at something like a Crazy Egg, we can see that it's happening a lot more. There's a lot more instances, number of tag requests that are broken. There's a lot more instances of Crazy Egg that's broken, whereas Stripe had one instance, as you can see here, of that tag that's broken. So it may not be a systematic problem across the board. So it may not warrant further action, or it may be something that we want to watch. And so this is where you could use an alert. So you could say, I could filter here by that specific tag. And then I could set an alert right here. I'm going to customize it. I'm going to say, if this tag stripe loader is broken and it's ever more than 0, send me an alert. And so I could say, I could call this alert, this is my watch list. Call it broken Stripe. So I know if it's broken. And then I could say, we're watching this technology, right, just to see if it is consistently broken. And so now, when this audit runs, every time it runs, it's going to check to see if that is broken, and if it is, it'll send me an alert. You can actually change that here as well. So the default setting when you're setting up a new alert is to only send you a notification the first time it fails, or you can say every single time. So if this is an important technology or a critical tag, you may want to be alerted every single time it triggers, because it warrants, like this one can't wait 3 to 6 weeks or whatever to go through our development cycle. It has to get hot fixed right now. It has to get fixed right away. And so that would warrant some escalation, right? So you can use the alerts to handle that. Now, as this audit reran, right, reran this audit, and this was a one-time thing. So, we all know the web can be flaky at times. You visit a site and something just doesn't load correctly. You come back 10 minutes later and it loads correctly. So this is the first thing I want you to think of is the problem systematic, right? Or systemic is what I mean, not systematic, systemic. And is it happening across the board? The next thing to ask is, do we even need Stripe loader? Are we even actually using the technology? Or if we're looking at Crazy Egg here, do we even need this technology? Where is it being used? What is it being used for? Of course, Crazy Egg is a session recorder to understand user behavior. Do we need this Vimeo player? Yeah, that's hosts all of our videos. For some reason, it's having an error on some pages, right? So we need to go look into that. So this is where it comes back to what I said at the very beginning. Who can help fix these problems, right? So here we would reach out to our third-party agency that's helping us manage our marketing website and say, we're having this problem with the technology. What is the problem? Some of the tools inside ObservePoint that can help with this. If we look at like the Stripe, if we go back to Stripe once again, it only happened on this one page. And what's happening here? So there's a few things that we can do as we look into this. Sometimes a variable in the tag will actually tell you what went wrong. It's really common to say, have some kind of data that gets collected in an error state that we will see. That's one thing you could look for. You could look in the request log. So you could then search by Stripe here in the request log and see if what's going on here. So it looks like it tried to load and then it loaded from here. So still no information here. If I go over to console log for the page, what's happening here? And if I find it, I don't know if any of these words had Stripe and they don't. So I could look through the console messages here and see if anything was related to that. It looks like there are a lot of cross origin security errors that may be related. So some things to be looking at. But the challenge, once again, is who can fix this. So it may just need to be that we need to test it and monitor it for a while before we can actually make remediation. Now, one of the other things to think of is, like I mentioned, is do we need this technology on the site? it may be one that could be removed. And as I talk about cookies here next, that may be a decision that you want to make. So let's look here, shifting gears. Now I'm going to intentionally kind of jump back and forth between different data types like cookies and tags and console messages and things, just to kind of help the brain think through some of the different ways that we could remediate problems. So next example we'll look at is an unapproved cookie. What do we do about it, right? And so once again, just reminding you that you got to figure out who in your organization can help with that. There's usually a privacy and security team. Sometimes it's legal that's involved with with cookie approval, depending on how sensitive your company is and your industry is, and where your websites are hosted and where your visitors are coming from, how sensitive cookies and other trackers are. Depending, that could have a dramatic change in who is responsible for the cookies. So if I go here, I want to know about, sorry, I'm going to get on my other audit here. And for some reason, my notes, I had a note called out that said where to go, and give me just a moment. Sorry about that. I think it was this one. Here we go. So lots of unapproved cookies, and I set this up intentionally, right, to say there's lots of unapproved cookies here. So let's just take this one from Demdex. Most of us are probably familiar that that's an Adobe cookie for Adobe Target. And so is that approved or not approved? So if we already know that that's in our CMP, and maybe our consent categories in ObservePoint aren't set up correctly, so we can just approve that and add that to the consent category and not worry about it. However, if this were a new cookie that showed up, if I had an alert that said, let me know if there's ever any new unapproved cookies, send me that alert. The alert comes, and in that alert description and that alert resolution section, we could call it, this is our process for when we see an unapproved cookie. So what we want to look for is a couple of things. One, once again, keep in mind who at the organization might be responsible for that. And it might trigger a couple of different pathways within your company. And there's a couple that I'll call out. One is it may need to go through the approval process, which might take some time, right? And then you might also need to talk with a tag manager or a technology manager to see how, if the technology that is loading that cookie can get it turned off for now. So if we take a cookie here for example, this one, we can go and explore more details over on cookie inventory about this particular cookie. We can see how it came into being, that it's all loading from Audience Manager in this case. And how did it get there? Well, we could, if we wanted to know more about Audience Manager, we could see where that's coming from. Search for Demdex here. Once again, here's that cookie, and here's that full origin story of that cookie, how it came to be. So you can see all of the different technologies that enter. Oops, I clicked on accident. Sorry about that. All the different technologies that are integrating or that are affecting this cookie. And there's a lot of them. So my next question could be, well, where did Adobe Audience Manager come from? Well, it's probably loading from launch. If we look here, if we zoom and look at the initiators, we'll see that this particular page, it has a lot of tags and technologies, right? And so it could be anywhere, and it actually loads from right up here. Here's Audience Manager, and then here's that pathway, and it's loading right from the root, right? And so that's something that we now know who we can talk to. So who has the authority to add tags to the root templates of the site, right? That's probably somebody. Once again, the person probably want to talk to is the product manager that's responsible for that page or that section of the site. So that's an unapproved cookie example. So once again, the path to remediation could be two. One is you got to figure out what technology set it, and then possibly, depending on your policies, get that technology turned off for now until the cookie gets approved. And then that approval process might take a different route within your company as well. All right, so let's go back here and let's talk about the simplest and the example that I started with, the thing that should be the simplest to fix. What is the problem, right? Which is a broken link, or I'm either a broken page or a broken link. Is the page broken? So, for example, we have one here on our own marketing site. Shame on us, right? For our tag database, and it's showing up as a 404 not found. So what do we do? What do we need to do to fix that, right? So if I go to that page, it says it's not found. Okay. So what do I do? Well, the question is, what's linking to it? Now I happen to know here that the problem here is in our link down here. As you can see, somehow this link got if you see in the bottom right-hand corner of my browser, that the link got messed up somehow. Not sure how that got messed up in our global footer, but the link got messed up. So it's pointing to the wrong place, in a place that's not broken, that's not there. Now you can use these downloads quickly right here to see all of the places that are pointing to that broken link. And I've already done that, and it's that global footer that's linking to this broken thing. So once again, who am I going to talk to? Here in our company, I'm going to message Ireland, and she's going to talk to our third party and say, hey, fix this problem. It needs to be fixed right away. There's this broken link in our global footer. One of the other things that's useful for broken links specifically is the audit exports. And there is a broken links export. This export has all of the pages that we found on the site, and then all the different ways they were linking to them. We give you the full outer HTML of where that's being linked to. But keep in mind, with broken links, there's two possible points to resolution. One is updating the link. Is the link the problem, or is the resulting page actually broken, and that's what's causing the broken link, right? So there's a little bit of investigation that needs to happen about broken links. So the more broken links there are on a site, that negatively affects our SEO value. It of course can frustrate users, so we want to get those things fixed. Let's talk next about digital residue. This is one, if you've heard some of our Edge content, and you've heard Cameron Cowan on our product team speak much. He speaks a lot of at a lot of our events, and he talks about digital residue quite a bit. And so this is what we mean by this is there an old technology? Is there an old, maybe there's an old account, maybe there's even a dev report suite in production, right? And I actually have an example of that here. Get rid of that. So there's one page on the site that has an Adobe Analytics tag. It's not their primary technology, and it's actually using a dev report suite, right? So that could be something that we need to figure out, right? Because that we could say, okay, we moved away from Adobe, for example, or we moved from Google Universal, or we moved from GA4 to Adobe, right? Or vice versa. And so we need to clean that up, right? So the first place to look is in the tag management system. Is this technology being loaded from the tag management system? I can look at the page here. I can look at initiators once again, and I can find where that technology is coming from. And if we go way, way down the chain here, it's coming from this technology from Adobe Launch. Okay, so that's an easy fix, right? If that technology is not supposed to be on the site, it's typically pretty easy to find who is in charge of the tag management system, in this case, Launch, and to go figure out how to get that turned off, right? That's pretty easy to clean up this kind of digital residue. The harder kind is if I get rid of Adobe Analytics, and this isn't, this example is the case of digital residue, old technologies and things that should be removed, but I'll also kind of dovetail that with third-party technologies or agency-like technologies that happen sometimes. Maybe there's an agency that builds a microsite, or you've got a microsite that's using a different, third-party vendor to load that content management system. That may be loading a technology here as well. And I actually find that quite often on this particular site here. If I search for Google Universal Analytics, we'll see here that there are several pages that are loading these third-party older version of Google Analytics. And so like this reward site, this secure site, once again, they're loading some third-party technologies. And the challenge can be that now these third parties have data about our visitors, and we probably don't want them to have that. And so be thinking of that as well. Now, usually digital residue is a tag or a technology, which are typically pretty easy to trace back to the tag management system, or once again, using our initiators to see where this Google Universal is loading from. And it's like right on the page. It's like right in the actual content, the actual body of the HTML probably that's loading that. So it's probably hard-coded into whatever template's being used here. All right. Next, let's talk about third-party cookies. And we all know that our world of third-party cookies is changing dramatically, right? Maybe not going all the way away with partition cookies happening, and but there is a big shift to want to get to more first-party experiences, right? And so this is actually one of the things that I use ChatGPT to say. What I actually ask it this question, and I just asked this super simple question: is there any way to make a third-party cookie first-party? And its first response is one that I know for a fact works really, really well. We actually have a customer right now that is using a self-hosted proxy to proxy all of the third-party technologies on their site so that they can set first-party cookies, and it works really well. Lots of other ways. So once again, use AI to help answer some of these questions. It's amazing the tool that the various large language models have enabled for us. Let's go back here. So let's look at this cookie from MS Clarity, right? So I want to filter just by this cookie, so I can dig in a little deeper to see what's going on. And it looks like there's 3 different domains that happen. And so what's happening with this cookie? So if I inspect one of the given pages, filter for that cookie, and I specifically want to look at the Clarity one. So once again, I know that's loading from Clarity. I know it's loading from this, and Clarity, of course, is a screen recording. A user understanding user interactions. So I want to see how is this getting on the site. And as we look here, it's coming from Google Tag Manager. If I come way out here to the end of my chain, where is it at? There it is, Microsoft Clarity. And oh, look, so it's coming ultimately from Google Tag Manager, but there's also some Bing event tracking on there, right? Which is part of the Bing Microsoft advertising network. And so having that tracker technology on the site introduced Clarity, which then of course introduced that cookie onto the site. So we need to make a decision. Is that cookie allowed to be on the site? If so, then we need to say it's okay for Bing event tracking to load the Clarity JavaScript, which loads Clarity, which records the user session, right? And so is that something that we're okay with? Is that part of our cookies acceptance policy? Do I need to work with Ireland and crew and the marketing team to get that technology turned off for now until we can get that technology blocked if we don't want to use it, right? So there's probably some configuration, I'm assuming, inside the Bing Microsoft Ads network to be able to say, don't allow this thing to load, but it is. And so that's the first thing that stood out to me. So when we're looking for third-party tools, it's one of the most common places to look in our world of strict regulations on various trackers. Looking at third-party tags, technologies, and cookies and other trackers is a great place to start. All right, so let's see. I've got one more example to show you for today. And that is console errors. Let me clear out my filtering here. So one thing that you could filter by, and this is one of the alerts that we would recommend, is are there any console error messages that are related to a tag? And I can even filter down to errors that have tags. So there's one console message that is related to an error, right? And so now if I turn this back off, we'll also see that we did encounter a lot of errors. Most of them appear to be related to a CORS issue. If you look here, lots of different kind of CORS issues. Something that we want to look at. So the negative thing of lots of errors is the web browser has to handle all these errors, right as they load on the page. The web browser has to make it, make some calculations, make some decisions on what to do about it. Web browsers, are super resilient and they typically handle them well, but it does take some compute time and some memory to load these things. So just be thinking about user experience, load times, all those kinds of things as errors happen. Now, the example I wanted to load, sorry, was in the previous run. So as I look here, I've got an error with Google Tag Manager. And as we look through the error, we'll see that it's loading, that it has a content security directive issue. And it usually will call out what that issue is when it's like that. So it's loading from a third party, and the third party is not allowing that source element, right? It's set to not allow that to load on our website. So I need to look at, well, what page is that loading on? Why is it loading? Where's the problem? Should it be used? Now, this is an example, I believe, of a third party that manages a microsite for this website. And they weren't aware that when they use this other third party, Google Maps loading through Google Tag Manager, that the cross-origin security policies didn't allow that Google Maps script to load on this other third-party site, right? And so whoever manages this microsite content management system is the person that we need to go find and talk to get that fixed, right? So hopefully what we talked about today just is giving you some examples of ways to use ObservePoint to dig in and find the problems and do some of that deep investigation, because unfortunately, a lot of these, I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunate, we have the tools to help you dig in and find all the problems, right? Oh, and also give you the information of where that problem is and then who can help fix it. But once again, the challenge is getting it fixed can be the hardest part, right? And it's typically finding who in the organization, because organizations are typically very siloed. Finding who can get that fixed can be a challenge, and that's something that we think about a lot on the product team. Is how can we facilitate, handing information I'm across different teams. So some of the ways that you could do that is, I could filter by a specific related tag. So if I come back here to tags, in a related tag, and I've got this, all of these errors here. One thing that you can do is use the share tool and just copy that public link, send that to whomever you find can fix the problem, and then they can access this information and have access to all the page detail information, have access to all the console logs and the request log and all of the other interactions and information that we gathered when we visited the page. They'll have access to all of that without having to create an account if sharing is enabled in your organization. So that's some of the things that we want to help. Once again, call out to using the alerts system that we have, and actually putting a well thought out note in there about who's responsible for this. This is what we do if an unapproved cookie, if we find a console log that's related to a tag, here's what we're going to do about it. Here's who we're going to talk to, right? So setting up all of those things can be very, very useful. And so, like I noted at the beginning, we will have a summary of all this posted as a series of blog posts that you can investigate more. And like I said, also before that, we're happy to help as well. Dig into some of these. Just reach out to your CSM, and any member of the product team is you're happy to jump on the call and help dig in. We also have some of our solutions engineers who are extremely experienced in finding problems and understanding who might be able to fix them as well. So we're happy to help with those things as well. Ireland, were there any questions that popped up?
We did not get any questions
Okay.
in the chat. But everyone keep an eye out for a follow-up email that has the recording and a summary of today's tip jar, as well as a link to register for next month's tip jar.
Okay, and then just one last thing, we do have our annual user conference coming up this September. It's a wonderful time to be here in Utah. The leaves are starting to change. Lots of wonderful activities, lots of great training, lots of great examples of how to fix problems using the ObservePoint tools, from various customers. So would encourage you to visit edge.observepoint.com and see if registering makes sense for you as well.
Thank you, Clint. Thank you, everyone who joined today.
All right, thanks everybody for coming.